In our first story, behind mansion walls, a Florida party prince
Ferraris, Bentleys, private jets.
is a man of many faces.
You might want to tell your boss that she's dating a spy.
And later, on Manhattan's Upper East Side,
He was executed right in the street in front of his apartment building.
it's open season on Millionaires.
I want more than that.
That's when all hell broke loose.
I'm Christopher Mason. The wealthy and powerful can dazzle us with their glamorous lives. But don't be seduced by the golden charms of the rich. Blinded by $1 million smile, no one suspects the killer inside.
Palm Beach, Florida.
People who live there, they're not millionaires, they're billionaires.
This is where the 1% show the 99% what they're missing out on.
Palm Beach Island is very much a playground for the rich. It's a very exclusive neighborhood. It's almost like the Beverly Hills of the East Coast.
It's fast money, it's fast women, fast cars. You know, it's like the Miami Vice idea didn't come out of nothing.
In the year 2000, a new player is making a big splash in the Palm Beach scene. Thanos Papalexis, 28 years old, son of a Greek shipping magnate, dripping with gold and women.
He was always surrounded by hot women, and he had an entourage of friends, like a celebrity of some kind.
He would have real exclusive parties, you know, high-end. You know, he would invite all the who's who of the Palm Beachers.
The parties are a honeypot of wealth, staged to draw investors into the web of Thanos Papalexis.
Tony. Hey, Thanos. Great to see you.
Once ensnared, he wants them to sign up for his luxury goods club.
What happened is you paid a couple $100,000 at first, and then tens of thousands a year to keep your membership up.
Come on inside, grab a drink.
And for this, you would have access to a mansion on a canal in Miami, a fleet of fancy cars, Rolls-Royce, Ferraris, Mercedes. You could get a few trips on a private jet.
All the trappings of extreme wealth without the expense. The super rich of Palm Beach like the sound of that.
He discovered Palm Beach Island. He discovered the wealth on the island. He discovered the people on the island. And he quickly discovered that he was able to infiltrate those people, gain their trust.
What did you think?
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
It's a fantastic idea.
He managed to weasel his way into society there. He did a couple of charity galas where, you know, in Palm Beach, is nonprofits and charities a big business. And the way a charity raises money in Palm Beach is by having a black tie sit-down gala. And Thanos went to a few of those, and that's how you sort of weasel your way into society here. By going to these charity galas, you might sit at the table of somebody and you become friends and that sort of stuff. So he played that game too a little bit. Everybody is sort of a phony in Palm Beach. But the difference between most Palm Beachers and Thanos is that most Palm Beachers do have the money, and Thanos didn't, and he managed to make people believe that he did.
As partygoers arrive at Thanos' $5 million beachfront mansion, they don't realize that it's only a rental. Even a former president drops over for a fundraiser.
Everybody's eyes widen because Bill Clinton shows up, the president, to have a fundraiser at that mansion.
Thanos Papalexis is now Palm Beach royalty. He even buys his very own throne. From gold leaf and red velvet, he commands his new kingdom of wealth. But money isn't his only obsession.
We understood that Thanos was throwing certain parties on the island behind some of the walls of these mansions where they were sex-related parties with escorts, probably some drug use.
They all end up naked and all having sex together. It sort of got a buzz in Palm Beach. It was sort of the place to go for a little bit.
Thanos admits he has an insatiable appetite for sex that his wife alone cannot satisfy. It will take the talents of a very special lady to quell the desires burning in his finely tailored trousers. She's blonde, buxom, and costs a tidy $2,500 a night. Miss Rebecca DeFalco.
Thanos was already very well established in the Palm Beach set by the time I encountered him. He had already really made a name of himself, and he was very well recognized. After our first, I would say, introduction or encounter, he called me the next day and said, I have to see you again. I have to see you again. I have to see you every day this week. And that to me was, you know, any girl would be flattered.
Papa Alexis woos Rebecca the only way he knows how. He pays her $10,000 a month to make him her only client.
He, of course, lavished me with plenty of things and financially put me in a place that said, you're not going to work anymore. He was very romantic. He was a charmer, of course. So he made me feel very loved and at times very, very safe.
In Rebecca DeFalco's line of work, there's one line you should never cross.
Falling in love with Thanos just isn't something that takes its time. It happens so rapidly. We fell in love, or I fell in love. Definitely.
It all feels so Pretty Woman.
Cheers.
Until it turns James Bond.
We met for lunch, and he said, there's something I need to tell you. And I said, well, tell me. And he said, I actually work for MI6, also for some American agencies as well. But my family doesn't know about it, and it's just something that I do.
Rebecca is slowly discovering that there is more than one version of Thanos Papa Alexis.
Thanos lived several different lives at once. He had a girlfriend, he had a wife and a child, he had a mistress.
Thanos had portrayed to Rebecca DeFalco that he was some sort of double agent.
There was so many identities that he had to keep up. He was just so good at keeping all of them up.
Secret agent Papa Alexis has his new love convinced.
I remember we would be staying at a hotel, and all of a sudden some documents would be slid under the door.
What's that?
And it would have the government seal of the CIA. I mean, the efforts involved were enormous. I mean, it just really was over the top.
And as Rebecca DeFalco falls further in love, she plays straight into the hands of a very dangerous man.
Thanos did everything he could to appear to the outside world that he was a super agent, that he was very wealthy, that he was smart as they come. Whatever he needed from you, he would first understand what you needed, and then he would attempt to make himself appear as if he was the perfect person for your needs.
It was easy for him to sweep me off my feet. It was like a few minutes of skepticism, but then it was more like, okay, I'm just overwhelmed with his presence.
In the case of Rebecca DeFalco, she clearly wanted someone who cared for her and looked after her and sort of wooed her into a relationship. And so he became an MI6 agent. And he became the secret agent that, you know, would contact her when he could if he wasn't out on a mission.
I'm going to have to go away for a while.
Surrounded by an unreal world of money and glamour, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. Then, Rebecca stumbles on a shocking slice of truth.
Is it Thanos?
Have you ever killed anyone?
He held my hands.
Listen.
And he looked at me very emotionally, almost with tears in his eyes. He says, yeah, Yes, I have.
Palm Beach, Florida, 2004.
Cheers.
International playboy Thanos Papalexis is charming his lover, Rebecca DeFalco.
I say that all the time.
He weaves tales of his top secret life as a spy.
What's that?
He would always have me in contact with the handler if he was out of town or if he had to go on a mission.
Thanos would later admit that the missions and the stories are all fantasy. But as a love-struck Rebecca falls into his world, she stumbles across his biggest secret.
I'm sorry for the delay.
Okay, you date a spy, and there's always an itching question that's tickling your brain that says, I wonder if you've ever killed anybody, because you're a spy. You know, you're a good guy. You're a guy that, you know, gets rid of bad guys. You always wonder, you're 007, have you ever killed anybody? I said, Thanos.
Have you ever killed anyone?
And he turns around so slowly. He held my hands, and he looked at me very emotionally, almost with tears in his eyes.
A few years ago.
He says, yeah. Yes, I have.
London, England, March 2000. A decaying warehouse on the city's north side.
There was a victim who was tied up, who was beaten, who endured some torture for some period of time, and who was eventually killed. And then his body was placed in a pit at the bottom of that building where they usually store cars.
The Metropolitan Police Service finds the body of Charlie Christodoulides, a quiet 57-year-old who lived alone in the small apartment above the warehouse.
Scotland Yard described the scene as very gruesome. There was blood on the wall. Obviously, there had been a serious beating.
Charlie Christodoulides is a gentle chap with a curious daily ritual. Dressed in a tailored Savile Row suit, he places a few small bets on the horses, then catches the bus to Piccadilly Circus. There, he sits alone in a fast food restaurant till the early hours. The kind of man who'd never hurt a fly.
Charlie was a fixture in that neighborhood. Everybody knew him.
It was a very heinous crime to a guy who we understood didn't hurt anybody, didn't have any bad bone in his body. He just wanted to be left alone, enjoy his family on occasion, drink at the local pub, and play some bets.
They knew that the victim really wasn't involved in anything heavy, in any criminal activity or anything like that. So this was a puzzle for them.
The detectives from Scotland Yard like nothing more than solving a cryptic murder mystery. This one will keep them busy for 7 long years.
So the case lingered on for quite some time, but they kept it on their radar screen, and they didn't let it go, and had never given up on this victim.
Back in Palm Beach in 2006, Thanos Papalexis is piling up the cash from his fractional ownership business. People are paying thousands to gain access to his fleet of millionaire toys.
So I started writing about whether the business was a solid one, whether the people who would join were going to get their money's worth.
Local journalist José Lambier goes digging beneath the Papalexis throne.
I find out several things. First of all, he doesn't own an island in the Bahamas. The Bentleys were getting repossessed. The pilots were calling me saying, you know, the planes are not his. It was so clear that this whole thing was just smoke and mirrors.
And when the story hits the papers, José gets a call.
Listen, Jose.
From Papalexis.
He starts threatening. You know, he says, Jose,
I'm a really bad guy.
Now I start cracking up.
No. You don't understand.
And he said, no. He says, you don't understand. I can have you and your family killed.
You understand me?
I thought he was kidding at first. And this is America. Nobody threatens reporters here.
I can have you.
Thanos is deadly serious. He has killed before. He kills when someone gets between him and money.
Thanos Papalexis in England was trying to make a name for himself as a developer. And what he did is he bought distressed properties around London and sold them at a profit.
I'm gonna make a killing on this place.
In 2000, he's poised to buy an empty warehouse in North London. He has a second buyer lined up who he will flip it to for a juicy profit. But he has to move fast.
Thanos had signed a high-interest loan on this building. But every day, it was costing him thousands of pounds to not sell it.
The problem is, there's a quiet, harmless man living above the warehouse, Charlie Christodoulides. And Charlie doesn't want to move out of his humble apartment.
Unfortunately for Papalexis, in order to resell that building, he had to get that person out of the building.
Then Charlie turns up dead.
The police knew that Thanos wasn't going to get his money as long as this guy was living there. The second he became a person of interest and detectives were knocking on his door and asking him questions about the crime, Thanos packed his bags and moved over to the States.
Out of reach of Scotland Yard, Thanos builds his new life as a Palm Beach playboy, while detectives quietly build a case.
What Scotland Yard found was cigarette butts. They didn't have much to go on, but they eventually found cigarette butts.
And those butts have DNA on them that matches Thanos Papalexis.
He claimed that he had been at the warehouse so many times in the past before the homicide to buy, to check out the place, to do all these things that he chain smoked and left his cigarette butts behind.
There's DNA from 2 other men found at the scene. Their records sit unmatched in a crime database for 6 years, until one is arrested on a minor drug charge. He leads police to his friend, and detectives find they have Thanos' hired muscle under arrest. The pair admits to cleaning up the murder scene and disposing of the body, but that's all. They say the killer is Thanos Papalexis. In the office of the federal marshals in Palm Beach, the phone starts ringing.
We received a call in the summer of 2008, our office here in South Florida, from the UK.
We were given a warrant through Interpol for a homicide out of the UK.
They had put together enough evidence in the United Kingdom for a case against Mr. Papalexis, but they didn't know where he was at the time.
Federal marshals set out for one of Papalexis' usual haunts, a fancy pizza restaurant on the water at West Palm Beach.
There was 2 young ladies sitting at a table next to Papalexis and his group, and I remember the one young lady looking at my partner Mike and I and saying, as if she was joking, "Are you here for my friend?" And as we got closer, we laughed and we said, "No, we're not here for you." And I remember making eye contact with Papalexis and saying, "We're actually here for you." And his eyes got about the size of saucers and his mouth fell open. His business partner just kind of sat there and looked at us, and then the woman that he was with began to break down in tears.
Papalexis is deported back to England to face murder charges. And reading the news of his arrest sends an ex-lover into a spin.
What do? You just start pacing like a racehorse, just trying to figure out what the... I know this story. Oh my God, I didn't want to know this story. I, prayed so many times to God, I just don't want to know this story. And I did.
Rebecca DeFalco has heard Thanos confess what happened in that North London warehouse. In 2004, in a suite at the Four Seasons in Palm Beach, she thought it was some spy fantasy.
Thanos, have you ever killed anyone?
In 2008, she realizes his horrific story was true.
A few years ago.
I remember every detail of that moment. Every detail. I remember the smell of the room. I remember what I was wearing. He got very emotional, and his voice gets very soft. And he tells me the story about how this man was strangled.
Last chance.
I just remember how he told me about how he wouldn't die. And there were two other men with him. They tried strangling him. And they were asking him a lot of questions, and they were beating him.
I gave you a chance, huh? You want to test me?
It's too much for me to, I mean, the graphic detail of what I envision in my mind and what he was telling to me is a burnt image I can't get rid of. It was a completely innocent man. This man did no harm. This family's been suffering for almost a decade to try to find the killer.
For Thanos Papalexis, one man's life was a tiny price to pay so Thanos could get what he wanted.
I think Thanos took a lot of shortcuts to get to whatever end goal he was looking at. Whether it was a business deal, whether it was trying to date a particular woman, anything that he thought he wanted, the means to getting that were of little consequence to him. And the damage that he would cause to anybody along the way were of little consequence to him.
Thanos turned wealth into a deadly tool. Money was his lure and his weapon.
I think more than anything, Thanos was characterized by a man who was trying to control his own world. He was certainly greedy, and he certainly liked money, but I don't think that was his primary motivation. I think that he used money as a means to control the people around him. He wanted to be the center of attention, he wanted to be the it man, and he wanted to be the person that people went to when they needed things.
In 2009, the family of Charlie Christodoulides finally get the closure they've been waiting for. In London's Old Bailey Criminal Court, Thanos Papalexis stands trial for murder. The star witness is Rebecca DeFalco.
I knew this was Judgment Day for him, and he felt it. You could tell by his mannerisms. He was scared. He was nervous. He wouldn't look up. He was shaking. He was rocking back and forth. You could tell this was not a man that was innocent. By no means.
Papalexis is found guilty of murder and sentenced to life with a minimum of 20 years.
Every facet of life he's been involved with in the U.S. is worse off because of his presence. And to me, that's how you can define evil.
I think it was probably a little bit unfortunate that in this trial of sex and lies and con men and Ferraris and mansions, that there was just a gentleman in England who was living a simple life. He didn't want anything complicated. And that was taken away from him in a very brutal manner that he didn't deserve.
Last chance.
You never really come to terms with it. This is something in your life that you never forget. I'm just grateful that I did the right thing. I wanted this out of me, done with. And for the most part, I wanted justice for that family.
The Upper East Side, Manhattan, October 1990. East 69th Street. Wealthy businessman George Kogan walks home from the grocery store.
And when he returned to the block to go into the building, the shooter approached from behind.
It was a snub-nosed revolver, .44 caliber. Got him in the back and just flew him forward. groceries strewn all over the sidewalk.
He was shot at 10:15 in the morning, and he was in surgery the better part of the day. But they could not save his life.
In the late 1980s in New York City, it's boom time. The era of greed is good. Wall Street is going up. Real estate is going up. And riding the boom is George Kogan. Everything he touches turns to gold.
George Kogan was a very affluent businessman who had investments in hotels, antique stores, jewelry stores, and property all throughout the world.
He was in real estate. He had businesses. He had stores in Puerto Rico. His family owned New York department stores. He was a wealthy individual.
George and wife Barbara split their time between Puerto Rico and New York. In 1986, they decide it's time to settle in Manhattan.
When their two boys grew up, went away to college, then Barbara and George started looking for property in New York.
Hi, George. Hi. How was your day?
Manhattan was a huge change, but Barbara settled in really well.
A high school beauty queen, Barbara Kogan was a fixture on the social pages back in San Juan. In New York, she aims for the same. The Kogans decide to open a high-end antique store. Kogan and Company.
First thing they did was hire a PR firm and got on page 6 of the New York Post a few times with their store.
And the PR company thinks the best way to make a splash is to throw a serious opening party.
It was quite a party. I know because I was there. The Kogans hired me to play piano and entertain their society guests. It seemed a delightful evening. But as I mingled among the diamonds and furs, I missed a little intrigue. A beautiful young woman had caught the eye of a much older man. Millionaire party host, George Kogan.
For the opening of the store, the publicity firm sent, as an account executive, Mary Louise Hawkins.
She was very pretty, blonde, and George was just kind of an average-looking guy, but quite successful, and he was quite a charmer. She fell for him.
Mrs. Kogan had initially thought that Mary Louise Hawkins was a good match for her son. It didn't work out that way.
George is 49, Mary Louise, 28. But that's no problem. Age is no barrier to romance when there's money to smooth the way. Wives are a different matter.
Barbara found out about the affair because she started getting hotel bills. Her husband was traveling on buying trips and was taking Mary Louise with him. And then she started seeing the bills.
He told Barbara that he was going to be moving out and moving in with Mary Louise, which was a total shock to her. What he did was he bought a poodle for Barbara. Then he moved out and moved in with Mary Louise. And I guess in his place, he left the poodle.
Traded for a young blonde. Placated with a poodle.
That is not acceptable. I want more than that. You understand? More.
Barbara Kogan gathers her forces for a bitter divorce. She won't be leaving this marriage empty-handed.
More than that. You understand?
Mrs. Kogan was not happy with the settlement that was tentatively given to her. Initially, she wanted $5,000 a week to maintain her lifestyle.
Barbara was used to a certain standard of living.
What do you think of this? Is that beautiful or what?
She was spending on American Express $250,000 a year. I mean, if you're spending that sort of money, it's like Michael Jackson proportions, I'd say.
The battle rages for 2 years. Their son acts as a mediator until 1990, when George and Barbara are ready to make a deal.
And George had ironed out and had drafted an agreeable divorce settlement. He was meeting with Barbara to finalize it so they could finally get on with their lives.
On the very morning George is due to sign the agreement, he slips out to buy some food.
He was hurrying back to Mary Louise's apartment when a gunman came up behind him and blasted him with 3 gunshots in the back.
Oh my God!
George fell to the ground. The doorman ran over to him. The doorman knew who it was, and the doorman called up to Mary Louise. Mary Louise came down and was in total shock.
George is rushed to the hospital.
George lasted 7 hours. They did several surgeries. He went into a coma.
Around 4 o'clock, they declared that George had died.
A gunman who appears from nowhere, then dissolves back into the crowd. The only evidence he leaves behind are the bullets in George Kogan's back.
They removed 2 slugs, one fairly good from George's body, and that's the evidence. That's all they had, 1 slug. The other kind of disintegrated, and there were 3, but they never did find the 3rd slug.
The slugs tell a story. They are hollow points, bullets that almost guarantee the death of those they hit.
The point of hollow point bullet is that it opens up upon contact, and it's designed to cause the greatest damage possible. Not a bad tool of the trade for a hitman.
This looks like a professional job. Who shot George? Police have their theories. You don't make millions in Manhattan being nice to people.
It appeared like it was a gangland slaying.
George had business enemies. It could have been some bad dealings in Puerto Rico. It could have been the Russian mafia.
George Kogan never saw it coming.
It was a slick killing. Gunman comes up unprovoked, out of nowhere, shoots him 3 times in the back and disappears.
It's broad daylight on a busy sidewalk on New York's Upper East Side. A brazen hit. And the shooter? He evaporates into the crowd.
George was shot from behind. The doorman didn't see anything. And the people on the block did not have the greatest opportunity to observe.
Manhattan back then was nothing like the tourist-friendly streets of today. You walked fast and kept your wallet close. Mugging was a daily risk. In 1990, New York held the grim title of murder capital of the United States. For now, George Kogan's killers can breathe easy. With few leads, the case goes to the bottom of a very big pile.
The initial detectives and the detective squad couldn't dedicate an entire team to this on a full-time basis.
But a few years later, a hard-boiled New York police detective is brought in to reopen the case, Joe Buffalino.
Initially, it was a very tough case to figure out. We started to look at some of the old witnesses. We re-interviewed the girlfriend of George Kogan, Mary Louise. We spoke to relatives of Mr. Kogan. We went to Puerto Rico, we spoke to the son.
Investigators focus on one big question. Who ponied up the cash to get George rubbed out?
And you had 2 different theories. One was the theory of the backdrop of this horrible divorce. The other theory was that George had a lot of businesses going and he owed money to people.
And what about George's alleged connections with the Russian mob? Those guys don't play nice.
We looked into the possibility of George Kogan having a bad business deal. And we realized that there were some deals that didn't go according to plan?
There were interviews of people to whom he owed money or who owed money to him. He had sold a hotel and casino to a group of people, and they were defaulting on the payment.
But someone else is on the detective's radar.
How's that feeling? Is that a little bit tight?
No, it's fine.
Okay, great.
George's wife, Barbara.
Jump your eyebrow.
On the day of his shooting, she was acting very strangely.
Can you believe that?
Barbara was incoherent, and it was decided that Barbara should have her hair done.
So I was thinking a little bit about your hair.
So a hairdresser came in and did Barbara's hair for $500.
As desperate calls come in from her estranged husband's deathbed, Barbara doesn't budge.
Barbara stayed in her Fifth Avenue apartment and did not go to the hospital. That was a bad sign. That was the first red flag.
Do you want to get that?
No.
No.
Just leave it.
Husband was in the hospital, and she continued to have her hair done. Well, everyone thought that was a little odd. It wasn't a typical loving relationship.
That heartless $500 haircut sends up the red flag. Barbara's fascination with life insurance gets it waving.
The insurance company had gotten calls from Barbara Kogan a week before the homicide asking
So the policy is still in effect.
if policies on George Kogan's life were still in effect and who was the beneficiary.
And Barbara Kogan is the sole beneficiary. Kogan.
There were actually 3 policies, totaled $4.3 million. During the divorce, she couldn't afford anything else, but she actually made payments and kept that policy up.
Good.
That was the thing that really sort of yanked the police officer's focus away from a possible business motive and turned it to Barbara.
Thank you.
But what kind of secrets could be hiding behind the doors of a swanky Fifth Avenue apartment?
It smelled a rat in this whole thing. They knew this was bad.
When Barbara Kogan's ex-husband, George, is shot on the street,
He was executed right on the street in front of his apartment building.
she's too busy having her hair done to say a final farewell at the hospital. George hadn't been a model husband.
Kogan.
But with George dead, instead of divorced, Barbara is set to collect a huge insurance payout. Sound fishy, anyone?
And Barbara Kogan is the sole beneficiary.
The insurance company actually launched their own investigation.
Initially, they didn't want to pay. They smelled a rat in this whole thing. They knew this was bad.
They could find no evidence pointing to her as being, connected to George's death, and so they ended up paying her out in two separate payments, $2 million at one point and the balance at another.
Barbara pockets a total of $4.3 million in life insurance. But $500 haircuts will snip away at that cash pretty quickly. By 1998, she's spent it all and files for bankruptcy. That's not a grieving widow. That's a merry widow, celebrating.
She lived very lavishly, and a lot of massages, some facelifts, some body work. She went through the money and ended up having to work later. She did some serious spending.
She was basically a greedy individual who loved herself and money.
So the policy is still in effect.
The motive in this case seems clear. A deadly cocktail of revenge and greed.
They honed in on her as they hit for hire. They thought it looked too slick.
But Barbara Kogan seems to have gotten away scot-free. Until
2 years after the murder, somebody got arrested for financial crime. And that person claimed that he had information on the Kogan murder and that somebody he knew by the name of Manuel Martinez, a lawyer, was involved in it. was there that the police had this huge lead.
Manuel Martinez seems harmless enough.
Manny Martinez was a low-end attorney, handled eviction cases, some marital type things.
New York is a big city. Just who does Manny know?
He started with that morsel of information that Martinez was involved, and basically Martinez was a lawyer, so everybody in his law office and everybody who had any association with him was interviewed.
Detectives discover that Manny Martinez is Barbara Kogan's divorce attorney.
We also found out that a week prior to the homicide, Mrs. Kogan and Manny Martinez had taken a trip together to Puerto Rico.
That trip was for the purpose of Barbara borrowing perhaps $100,000 from her parents to pay for the hit. In addition to that, the lawyer from Manny Martinez's office says, you know, when Martinez came back from Puerto Rico, he said, that George is a dirtbag. He's gotta go, he's gotta go. So you had Martinez talking up getting rid of George. Another huge lead was Martinez's wife.
She was horrified of Mr. Martinez. He said to her that if you don't watch yourself, you're gonna wind up just like George Kogan that we had him killed.
I need a solution, all right?
Do you mean what I think you mean?
Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. Do you know anyone?
Joe Buffalino's team is sure they have their man.
So as we're putting these facts together, everything is starting to fall into place.
All right. And we don't need these.
We have the motive and we have the connection with Mrs. Kogan and Manny Martinez for the conspiracy to commit the murder.
Manny Martinez is indicted by a grand jury in 1996 on murder charges. But there's a problem.
We discovered that he was in jail in Mexico.
Mr. Martinez had gotten a job with the Mexican government and stole an enormous amount of money from the government, and he was presently in a Mexican jail serving 13 years.
He'd already served 2, so the New York DA's office sits tight for another 11 years, until Manny is freed.
Our biggest fear was that he was going to pay off the Mexicans and flee. He did not. And then he was brought back and tried.
And he was convicted of conspiring to murder.
In 2008, Manny Martinez is sentenced to 25 years. Now, nearly 20 years after the murder of George Kogan, the net is closing in on his ex-wife, Barbara. Barbara lays low in upstate New York and awaits her fate.
She was very upset. She knew that the walls were closing in on her as well. And her friend invited her to her house, and so Barbara went to her friend's house, and in the meantime, her attorney was making arrangements to surrender her because the indictment was pending.
As she feels her time as a free woman ticking down, Barbara Kogan has one last go-around with her favorite pastime.
So Barbara, she was doing a lot of shopping, buying things and that sort of thing, a lot of meals. I've seen all the checks and receipts.
In November 2008, she's arrested. And just before she faces trial, Barbara decides to cut a deal.
I frankly think Barbara was just tired. She said she didn't want to embarrass her sons, cause them any more grief, go through this trial.
So she pled guilty to a manslaughter and got 12 to 36, which she's serving.
The 20-year case was also a trial for the lawmen who doggedly pursued Barbara Kogan.
You can't get tunnel vision. You have to look at the evidence. You have to look how the case is progressing during the course of the investigation. But you get that gut feeling too, and in your heart, you know who's responsible for what. We knew in our heart that Manny Martinez and Mrs. Barbara Kogan was responsible for the death of Mr. Kogan.
The New York City Police Department did not let go, and they pursued this case over a period of 20 years. Murder happened in 1990, and in late 2008, Barbara was arrested. The biggest nightmare one has as a homicide prosecutor is a murder case, and you have strong suspicion that somebody did the murder, and you also know that they're getting away with it, and that nobody's going to be held accountable. There's a phrase in Deuteronomy which says, justice, justice ye shall pursue. If the detectives hadn't pursued this for 20 years, Barbara Kogan would have gotten away with murder.
As for who actually put 3 bullets into George Kogan's back, the prime suspect is currently serving 25 to 50 years on another charge. He has yet to be charged with George Kogan's murder.
I have a real problem with that. If you've got 2 people in jail, in prison, convicted of murder and conspiring to hire a gunman, yet you don't bring the gunman to trial. It's very, very unusual.
But for the detectives and prosecutors in this case, justice has been served. Money and power offered no protection to the guilty.
You know, there are very often notions that rich people get away with this or rich people get away with that. I think what it says is rich or poor, no matter who you are or what you are, when you take a life, you have to pay. And I think that's an important lesson.
By the time she's eligible for parole, Barbara Kogan will be 80 years old.
To show you how the mighty have fallen, from $20,000 a month American Express bill and a $500 haircut on the day that George was murdered to a $3 haircut at Rikers Island taken from your commissary. That really shows crime does not pay.
Money. The more they had, the more they craved. It bankrolled their opulent lives and drained their hollow hearts. Thanos Papalexis ruled an empire of lies from a blood-soaked throne. And scorned wife Barbara Kogan didn't just get angry, she got even. On the surface, they seemed so smooth and polished, but it took only a scratch to reveal the ice-cold eyes of the killer inside. Till next we meet, behind mansion walls, I'm Christopher Mason.